How wonderful would it be if we could live in a world where you don't need to label yourself as a doctor, an artist, or a businessman. Our society seems based on the idea that the more specific, the more particular your knowledge and expertise is, the more reliable and trustworthy you are. Conversely, people that show interest in an array of different directions are often perceived as unlikely to possess extensive knowledge in one particular field. But just how true is that? Learning a skill, mastering a craft, is something that takes time and perseverance. Society wonders how reliable our knowledge in one field or our abilities in a certain art or discipline can be if we have only practiced it or studied it for a limited amount of time. And this is an endorsable argument. I mean, after all, we wouldn't pay a high fee for a wedding photography service if we knew that this photographer has only been doing it for a couple of months, or that he's just doing it at weekends, but during the week he's a surgeon or a carpenter. It doesn't matter how beautiful his images on his websites are, we wouldn't trust the fact that being a photographer is not his only job. It's not the place where he puts all of his attention, all of his time. The problem is that when we give voice to such skeptical argument in our mind, and we give credibility to the idea that society is justified in not trusting our skill based on the fact that it's not the only thing we do, we end up limiting our own creativity and freedom, undermining the very possibility for improvement and for finding our true self. The point is that if we are to have a perfectly rounded and satisfying human experience on this earth, we must let ourselves be brought to places of elation and bliss. And that normally comes with embracing change. It comes with going out of our comfort zone. It comes with going out of those little boxes and labels in which we love to inscribe ourselves. To mention this Italian comedian and philosopher Alessandro Bergonzoni, once he wrote that when a doctor finishes their shift, he or she should become a patient or an artist or an engineer. When we picture ourselves within the small frame of our only job, our whole human experience becomes very narrow and limited, and we stop experiencing life to its fullest potential. So why should the question, am I able to make money out of this, be more important than the question, how much learning am I going to get out of that? How much am I going to grow as a result of joining a certain project? Besides, whether or not we can make money out of something, it's not a question whose answer we can know here and now. We might already be good enough to sell some idea to somebody who doesn't have those right now at the beginning of our learning curve in a certain field. So going back to our example of the surgeon or carpenter that does wedding photography at weekends, if he takes fantastic pictures at weekends, that's the only thing that counts. It's the only basis on which the fee that he gets paid can be deemed to be fair and acceptable. And all the extra knowledge and the extra skills that come to us from being a surgeon or being a carpenter, those should not be seen as a negative, because those actually make him a more rounded, a more figured out person. able to make decisions, communicate, show empathy in a much better way than if he had only seen the photography side of things. We should all learn our way back to recognizing what makes us feel curious, happy, alive, right now, and make time for it. I am not suggesting that everybody should embrace new activities all the time, just to satisfy every short-lived interest. Time is precious, and there are downsides to dedicating ourselves to more than one thing. But we should not identify a practical difficulty, not having enough time to pursue different interests, which descends from the way that this society is organized, with the nature of our minds, the very structure of our being human. We are not defined by one activity, one passion, one skill. The quest for the one, the principle that in the Greek philosophy is source of all knowledge and essence of all things, is maybe just a cry for security, a search for meaning. So next time you're giving yourself a valid reason not to risk, not to fail, not to start something new that scares you, but at the same time it excites you, just stop thinking and jump.